Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Dynasty After Dark. I'm your host, Calvin Timms, and I know the NFL draft just got over, and you're probably tired of talking all the rookies, but today, fortunately, we're going to be talking over these guys again, only this time it's going to be 2024. That's right. Today, we're going to be talking about guys to keep an eye on going into the 2024 college season, and some players that are on the rise for your 2024 first round picks. And the reason why I wanted to bring this out here today is because I've seen a lot of people, I've been trying to work some trades in some of my dynasty leagues, and a lot of people don't really understand how to value their 2024 first round picks yet. And that's okay. Not everybody's a college guy. I'm not even the biggest college guy. I mostly just kind of look for names now and kind of have a list of guys that I want to track over the college season. And then, there's going to be guys that jump up this list, jump down this list. Some guys are going to completely flame out. It happens all the time, and that is okay. But when you're looking at it, there's a few guys that we know how good they are, and we know where they're going to end up next year, whether they're going to be first round picks, and whether or not those top end 2024 first round picks are worth it or not. So today I wanted to talk about the quarterbacks and the running backs. So there's a few guys out there that we want to talk about. But first, if you're following the podcast on Spotify, Apple, Google, anywhere that the podcast is audio only, thank you guys for following the podcast. If you can, while you're over there, leave a like, a review, a subscription to the podcast. It just helps out with that algorithm, gets us out there to more people. Trying to grow the podcast all off season long. But if you're watching on YouTube, please leave a comment down below, like, subscribe, same things. But yeah, if you're on YouTube though, you will see the new thumbnail that we have on the video, and it's a little bit of a foreshadowing because I think things are going to be changing a little bit as we move forward. And there is no Dale today, but he will be back here shortly. We're not getting rid of Dale. That's not the big news. But the big news is my wife, I've finally managed to conscript her into being the thumbnail girl for the podcast. And I gotta say, she's way better at this than I am. So if you like the thumbnail on the video, and if you're on Spotify, Apple, Google, go check it out because it is a pretty badass thumbnail, I will say. And just let her know. Let her know your thoughts on the thumbnails, whether you like them a little bit more than my goofy ones that I've been doing for the last couple of months. But yeah, man, I didn't know she had the ability to do what she does, and it's pretty nice. I gotta say, she's really good at it. So let her know down below if you like it. And yeah, it helps with the comments, so it gets us out there, and it gives her a little bit of positive feedback too. So thank you guys for checking us out. Now let's jump into the quarterback. So obviously the number one guy everyone's talking about is Caleb Williams. And, he's been number one on people's draft boards. I've already heard rumors that people are tanking for Caleb Williams this upcoming season. I've talked about it a couple times. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have reportedly been all over Caleb Williams. They will do whatever it takes next year to go and get Caleb Williams. They want him to fix their franchise if Baker doesn't fix it for them, which, it's always possible, but I would not be holding my breath there. So Caleb Williams out of USC, I believe it is. I don't know college symbols the best, so please forgive me here. But yeah, he's 215, 6'1", and he's been a dominant player throughout all of college football for the last couple of years now. He is a very, very people call him Mahomesian, and I can see that. He just makes plays, but the thing that he's so good about is he's like Kyler Murray, only better, right? He's the perfect passer and mobile quarterback. And for fantasy football, this dude is going to be a slam dunk in super flex leagues. He's going to be the 101. There's not even a Bijan type of player that can push him off the 101 in super flex leagues. This guy is going to be locked and loaded up there. So number one overall, Caleb Williams, pretty simple, and nothing crazy to talk about there. Now, number two guy is going to be Drake Maye, and And one thing, I'm trying to add timestamps for people out there because I know people have been asking for them. So doing it solo on the pod is a little bit more challenging. So forgive me here if I take a couple pauses while I write down the time. But Drake Maye is the number 2 guy, and he's kind of pretty much everyone's number 2 at this point in time. He's like the number 2 overall player on most people's draft boards for this upcoming season. I've seen some people have him as 3, but yeah, he's locked and loaded to be a top 3 pick next year. And out of UNC, North Carolina, 6'4", so he's a big boy, and 220. Very, very good arm, and he's got a little bit more. He's got a little bit more mobility than you'd kind of think for someone being that big, but he's a very good player and is pretty much locked to be, unless he has a disastrous 2024 season, he's going to be a top 5 NFL draft pick. So again, for Superflex, it's really hard to turn that down. There's a few players we'll get to with the other positions that might be able to push him in our rookie drafts, but already we've got 2 guys locked and loaded as top 3-4 Dynasty rookie picks. So if you're in a Superflex league and you have a projected high first-round pick and you need a quarterback, there are a lot of guys that are going to be available. Now, the next couple of guys, I'm going to mention 3 more here, and these guys are all a little bit farther down the board, right? They're not locked and loaded to be first-round NFL draft picks, but they're rising, or they have a lot of potential and a lot of hype around them. So the first one is going to be Michael Penix Jr. out of Wisconsin, I believe, 214, 6'3", and he's someone that jumped up pretty highly this last season. So if he can build on that again, he's going to just make himself a ton of money. And Michael Penix, he is just pulling his pros and cons up here. He's someone that is very, very gifted in the arm strength, right? He's got a lot of arm strength, and, you know, I think that he isn't the most mobile guy. He's more of a little bit of a pocket passer, but he's someone who can scramble, and he is someone who buys a lot of time in the pocket, and a little bit more like Mahomes in that regard, right? But he does have a little bit of, you know, consistency issues, and he's had a lot of injury risk in the past. So, you know, he's not the perfect prospect, and that's why he's kind of a little bit further down. There's definitely a gap between Caleb Williams and Drake Maye, and another gap as of right now for Michael Penix. But again, 2023 was or 2022, I guess the 2023 college season. 2022 was very promising for Michael Penix Jr. He just needs to build on it in 2023. So entirely possible that he could be right in the mix with the Drake Maye this upcoming season. We're just going to have to watch and find out. Number 4 guy here is going to be Quinn Ewers, quarterback for Texas. And this one's interesting. So Quinn Ewers was someone who, if you remember the story, he opted out of his senior year of high school to go to, I think it was Ohio State originally. Not the best idea, because he just went to the college at such a young age. He wasn't even close to physically developed enough to make an impact. Goes to Ohio State, wasn't the best there. Ultimately, he enters the transfer portal and goes to Texas. Now, at Texas, he is competing with Arch Manning, right, who is now a rookie there on the team. And nobody knows who the starter is going to be. Everyone talked about Quinn Ewers as the locked and loaded starter. He should be, but it's not guaranteed. He did get injured last year, and he was showing a lot of that promise that had him as the number 1 quarterback prospect in the country out of high school. But again, he got injured, and it just was not it was an unfortunate situation. So can he get back up to where he was last year in 2022 and really build on what he was able to do? It's entirely possible, but we have no idea what he's going to be, if he's going to be the starter or not. So Yeah, that's the one question. He does have a lot of talent. There was a reason why he was the #1 overall prospect coming out of high school, but it's just not something that has materialized to the best that we were all hoping for. So that's the reason he's #4, but it's not unlikely that he could be right up there as the #1, #2, #3 guy in this class. It is entirely possible. And the last guy I want to talk about here for the quarterback position is going to be Bo Nix, quarterback out of Oregon, 6'2", 213 pounds. And again, I think he's going to be ultimately a first-round pick. I think Quinn Ewers, if he has a solid season this year, will also be a first-round pick. But Bo Nix was somebody that a lot of people liked this year and ultimately decided to go back to Oregon for his senior year. And yeah, he's someone that is interesting. I liked Bo Nix quite a bit. I had him as my #5 quarterback in this draft class. I had him above Will Levis originally. Ultimately, he goes back to Oregon, so he falls off the draft board for now. But Will Levis, you can see in a lot of Superflex drafts, is going as a first-round pick, right? And he was the #33 overall pick, so he went in the second round. Bo Nix, I think, will be a first-round pick. I think that he's got a lot of talent there. He's kind of carrying Oregon right now. He's much better than the talent around him, and he's a very athletic individual. He's got, he's good in the read option game. He's got a good arm. He's not the best at reading the defenses, and that could be a little bit of a problem, but I think that's what's going to push him down draft boards a little bit further. But for fantasy football, definitely a first-round pick if you had to guess as of right now. And so, again, we're not going to bet on catastrophe striking at this point in time, but it's entirely possible he doesn't have a great season and he falls down the board. You look at 2023 and how hyped everyone was going into 2022. Oh, just wait for 2023. Those picks are going to be amazing. Well, as of right now, the quarterback class for 2024 is better than 2023, which was amazing, right? And it kind of is how it always goes for Dynasty. If you haven't been around long enough, next year's first-round picks are always better than this year's first-round picks. The potential there is going to be amazing. But in reality, though, I do like this quarterback class a lot. I did like the 2023 draft class at the quarterback position, but I think that all of these guys have the potential to be better than the guys that went in this last draft class. Caleb Williams, I'd rather have him than Bryce Young or even CJ Stroud, who I'm a big fan of. I'd probably put CJ Stroud right ahead of Drake Maye, but probably Drake Maye would be #3 if you combine these two classes. Anthony Richardson would be right there with Michael Penix, and then Bryce Young would be right there with Drake Maye and CJ Stroud still in terms of in terms of quarterbacking ability. Physically, again, Bryce Young's small guy. I would be taking all the other guys ahead of him, but he'd probably be my #4 if you combine these two. So it's a very good draft class. You should have 5 guys at the quarterback position that are going to be first-round picks. But, again, when you're thinking about trading, if you have a high-end projected, you're going to be talking about probably Caleb Williams, Drake Maye, Michael Penix Jr. Now, the other position I wanted to talk about quickly today, and we're going to be talking about the running backs here, but I'm going to push the receivers and tight ends until the next episode, which will be coming out on Thursday. So make sure you guys come back for that. But man, Ohio State the last couple of years, they've been just cranking out good players. Treveyon Henderson is a lot of people's #1 in this draft class. He's, a hair better in some people's minds than Raheim Sanders, the running back from Arkansas, the Arkansas Hogs, whatever their mascot is. I forget what it is. But Raheim Sanders is someone that's very interesting. Amazing vision. I like him a lot. Treveyon Henderson, he's someone that he's a little bit smaller at 5'10", 214, solid guy, right? But Raheim Sanders, man, he's 6'2", 227. He's a big boy, and he might not be the best pass catcher that we've had in the last couple of years. He's not the all-around kind of talent that I think Treveyon Henderson is a little bit more well-rounded as a pass catcher. But Raheim Sanders, man, this guy can run. I like what I've seen so far out of him. There's a good chance that he's going to be the number one, but I could also see Treveyon Henderson being the number one guy as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how the draft capital hits for these guys next year. I could see both of these guys being later first-round picks, but there is definitely no Jahmyr Gibbs, no Bijan Robinson type of prospect in this upcoming draft class. Now, there's a couple other guys down here that are interesting. Now, there's only 5 guys that I think are going to ultimately be first-round picks in the real NFL draft, but also your rookie drafts, right? There's quite a few running backs here that I think could ultimately make a case if they get solid draft capital. First guy I want to talk about here is going to be Braelon Allen. This guy is a monster, 6'2", 235. There was a video a couple years ago. I remember when this kid was a freshman, and I'm going to pull that up really quickly. So I'm going to pause real quick, and we're back. So Braelon Allen, I had to just double check really quickly. As a freshman 3 years ago, this guy put up a squat of 610 pounds, which is nuts for this guy's size. Like, he's not a fat 235. This dude is a lean, mean monster. He also did a deadlift of 405 or power clean, whatever. I'm not the biggest workout guy. I go to the gym. I don't know all the terms, all right? Forgive me. But 405, I'm out there struggling to do like 230, okay? This guy is a monster in terms of what he can lift. There's a real possibility. I mean, Wisconsin running backs, they were running back university for a long time. You know, you look at Melvin Gordon, Jonathan Taylor. There's a lot of guys who have come out of Wisconsin and have gone on to be very, very productive NFL backs. This guy has great hands as well, and at that size, 6'2", 235, there's a real possibility that he could make a push to be the number one back out of this class. And again, for running backs, the Dynasty community has been starved for these guys for a few years now, and I think that, you know, Raheim Sanders, Braelon Allen, and Treveyon Henderson are 3 amazing candidates that are going to be coming out this upcoming draft class. A couple other guys that are worth mentioning: Blake Corum. He's a senior. He did go back to Michigan. He was eligible for this draft class, but here's the problem: 5'8", 210 pounds. He's a thick dude, but he's short, and that scares me a little bit. It reminds me a little bit of Clyde Edwards-Helaire there. I'm not the biggest fan of Blake Corum, but I know a lot of people are, so you're going to hear his name a lot. Maybe he can... The problem is he doesn't have the best burst and big play ability. You don't necessarily need that for fantasy football, but you're going to have a lot of people, you know, put him as like a Devin Achane really high up their boards, and I'm a little nervous about that this early on, but he's someone worth keeping an eye on. Will Shipley out of Clemson, 205, 5'10". He's another guy who's got pretty good passing ability, but he's a little bit smaller. Trey Benson, 6'1", 215. He's a little bit more of your prototypical guy. He's not the best with his hands, but he does have great vision and the ability to like cut on a dime. He's very, very good. And then there's more guys. There's going to be guys that jump up and down. There's going to be guys that go back to college. We have no idea at this point in time. But here's 6 guys that I think are worth mentioning this early. I think that there are definitely 3 guys that are going to make a very, very strong case for first-round draft capital in this upcoming draft class. And, you know, when you throw in the receivers and the tight ends, which we'll talk about here on Thursday, I think that you have at least at this point in time, you know, 11 guys that are going to be first round picks. And that's only with 3 quarterbacks in the first round. You up that to 5. You got 5 quarterbacks, 3 running backs, right? You're definitely going to be able to find 4 receivers and tight ends that are going to be worthy of a first round pick with this upcoming draft class. So I do think that the 2024 first round picks have a lot of value. If you're a team that's in rebuild, I would be trying to load up on those picks as many as you can possibly get and as high as you possibly can get, because the elite talent at the top is entirely worth it. So that's my thoughts right now, and just a couple of names to keep your eyes on. Let me know your thoughts down below. If there's anybody that I have missed, again, I'm not the biggest college guy, so I just take a list of names now. But yeah, I think that there's some guys worth watching, and yeah, you'll let me know down below. And until next time, thank you guys for listening. Follow me on Twitter at TDC_Calvin. Again, Dale will be back next time. We're going to have him on a couple podcasts here soon. You can follow him on Twitter at Dynasty_Dale. But until next time, thank you guys so much for listening. Have a good night.